Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters, guests, I am Captain Courage, and years ago I was serving in the U.S. Army, and I was part of an experiment that they had. Well, there was a malfunction, and I was brought towards the future. And here I am today just doing what I can.
There you go.
A few years ago, I was part of a veteran ministry because my grandfather served in the military, in the Army, and I have many veterans in the family. And I found out that every year they do a Christmas event where they pick a town or an area, a neighborhood that is low income, and they give presents to kids. And I asked the founder of the ministry at the time, can we dress up as superheroes, and that way we can cheer up the kids, when we're giving out a present, like, oh, it's Batman, oh, it's Superman. He said, yeah, why don't you bring that up at the next meeting? So I did, and I heard crickets. No one wanted to do it. So I decided I would do it. I bought a Power Rangers costume, and a friend of mine said, well, since it's military based, this is a veterans ministry, why don't you make it a military Power Ranger? And that's how it started. This buckle that I use, that keeps falling off, so I might have to replace it, is a 3D printed Power Ranger morpher, which I painted USA colors. And I used to have a coin, but it fell off. And I came up with the design of Captain Courage slowly. It started off as a Power Ranger costume, but I used the creativity that I was given to just make it my own. So slowly I started to take out what was a Power Ranger and I started making it my own thing. I created this gauntlet in my story. This is the reason that Captain Courage can teleport. It's actually a very tiny time machine that allows you to go seconds into the future. So it looks like I'm teleporting. Like, I can go from there into here in a second flat. Want to see it again? That's how it works in the story. And I didn't just want to put on a costume, I want to portray Captain Courage. But when I wear the suit, usually I'm in character. So I tell kids, this is how Captain Courage came to be. This is what we do. Aside from going into hospitals, which was the next level from just going into neighborhoods. It was opened up that we could go into children's hospitals, and that is great. I can share the encouragement and maybe pray for a kid or two. So that was fantastic that I was able to do that. And I do remember a few stories where I'm in a hospital room and there's this kid hooked up to wires, and he's just sitting there with a smile on his face, and he sees me. He doesn't know who I am, but I just start talking to him, and he's asking questions. He's like, what does this do? What does that do? And before that, before I made the suit that it is now, it was the Power Ranger suit, and I would get comments from parents, oh, a fat Power Ranger. Because I was chunkier back then, and the suit that I used was a muscle suit, so it was those fake muscles. So it made me look even bigger. But when I was talking to this boy, he didn't see a fat Power Ranger. He saw someone that was there just to put a smile on his face. And that always reminds me why I do this. And I am thankful and I'm grateful that God has given me the creativity to do this. But I didn't want it to just stop there. I didn't want it to just stop at I visit a hospital once in a while. I started writing stories. Started writing comics, mini comics. Because I wanted something to hand to the kids. So I did that. I wrote a short story, which was The Armor of God. So it was mostly scripture and with my own illustrations. And that's a comic that I would give out for free. And I started being asked at my church, can you make a comic for the children's church? So I made more comics for them. And I also went and presented as Captain Courage. And the kids are relentless when they're that small age, because they're like, oh, I know who you are. And they would say someone else entirely. Like, oh, take off your mask, take off your helmet. Like, let me see it. No. But it's fun. Every time I go to an event, there's always a crowd of kids. And Captain Courage in the story, he was in the military. I was never in the military. But I do this, one, for the kids, and two, to honor my grandfather and my family members who were in the military. And it's a way that I can stay connected with my family. My grandfather, who's my mother's father, he passed away when I was a young teenager, and my mother really felt that loss. So this was a way where I could kind of bridge that gap, where I tell her I'm doing this for abuelo. When my mom passed away years later, I was given the opportunity to write a larger Captain Courage story that did appear in an anthology comic. And in that story, to pay honor not only to my mother and my grandfather, I drew my mother in the story. And I had a little mission where Captain Courage had been back for a while in our modern times, and he had a Bible that he needed to return. So that Bible in the story belonged to my grandfather, and he was returning to my mother in the hospital. And I drew that around her last days. So I'm able to have that reconciliation with my mother, even though in real life I was there with her. But I wanted to honor her and show that to the world. So I used my creativity to put her in my story. I used my creativity that God has given me, and God has given all of us some form of creativity. We all have that creativity within us. Just depends how you use it. What are you using it for? So you don't have to be a superhero. It helps to be courageous if you're going to be wearing a suit like this. But you don't have to be a superhero to make a change in someone's life, even if it's just one smile a day. Toastmasters.